Welcome to this bonus interview that I have done with Scott, the Carnivore Lion, on YouTube. In this episode, he is sharing about his ongoing health problems that he's had for several years now and the damage that he has suffered as a result from taking a few medications that he has been prescribed and how that has impacted his life. And he's also going to share with you a very non-conventional, I want to say, healing path that he has chosen to take and how this is impacting his ongoing health issues. And this is also one of the big reasons for why he has chosen to start up this new healing community. And it's a healing community that we want to invite you to if you have any ongoing chronic health conditions, whatever they may look like. If it's something that you are struggling to correct with diet and supplements, and maybe diet and supplements, whenever you change them, is making you feel even worse, then this is probably what you need. So he wanted to start this community thinking about the people and knowing that people who are sick have already usually paid a lot of money to try and heal themselves. So we want to keep it affordable, we want to keep it very on point, we want to keep it open for everyone who wants to join, who needs to heal, and make it a real opportunity for you to actually get the help that you need. This community is launching in March and we are going to offer it for free for the rest of the month. So you can just go and try it out right now, sign up, and then let us know what you think. If you think something is missing, this is our little baby now. We are open for all suggestions and we want this to be a community that is working for you. And you can sign up over at www.limbic-training.com. Let's get into the interview. Welcome to the channel, Scott. I just wanted to have you on because I know that you have had quite a few troubles and you've been on a really good diet, and it's something that a lot of people are experiencing nowadays, that they come from having some strange illness that they don't really know what it is, and they think that a specific diet is going to heal them, and then they maybe get part of the way but they don't get the whole way there. So I would just like to kind of go back to the start and have you just share a little bit about your story, and especially focus on your gut issues, because that's what I know that you've been researching and looking into a lot.
Yeah. It's kind of strange because I feel like I've been chasing the gut component for years and years. And there's one huge missing element to that. Like you said, diet can only take you so far. So really where my story started was I was going through a very stressful period of my life. So I had some people who were close to me who passed away within a relatively short period of time. I had a lot of stress, just good stressors as well, but stressful nonetheless. I was getting married, I moved cities, changed jobs, started a new business. We were trying to get pregnant at the time. So there was just a lot going on, and I was under severe stress. And that stress led to gastritis and all these sort of gut issues, which led down the road of all these sorts of medications that doctors put me on. And really, that's when shit hit the fan for me. So I started developing, they put me on like antibiotics to deal with my gut issues, which really messed me up. But what was the worst thing is when they put me on psychotropic drugs. So they put me on a benzodiazepine. And I had severe withdrawals from that. So there was a point where I was only on it for maybe about 2 months. And when I hopped off of it, I had a severe seizure. It's kind of like when somebody cold turkeys like alcohol. It's the same type of thing, works on the same receptors in your brain, right? It could actually be deadly. A lot of people do die if they withdraw very quickly from these medications and alcohol. So I ended up in the hospital with just having severe seizures and just on my deathbed pretty much. It was terrible. And this lasted for weeks. At the time, I didn't even know what was going on. I wasn't even I didn't have the brain capacity to even understand what the hell was going on, to be honest with you. And they were just pumping me full of medications and stuff when I was in the hospital, and which just made me worse.
Yeah.
And they eventually came around to give me a benzodiazepine. And within a span, I kid you not, within a span of maybe an hour at the most, I went from deathbed to feeling almost completely normal again. And I was like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, really? Just that one tiny little pill that I was taking nearly killed me. And I knew at that point, I was like, man, I'm in some deep shit here. This is serious stuff. So I went on the internet, scoured the internet. I found out about benzodiazepine, these like protracted psychotropic drug withdrawals, which for many people could last for years and years and years. I really believe I have this theory that people who go through these crazy withdrawals probably had leaky gut to begin with, or maybe there's some component that these drugs actually cause leaky gut. I'm not quite sure in some people. But it really seems to me that people who have these like protracted withdrawal syndromes have some element of leaky gut in there because they have all these histamine issues and stuff like that. So to make matters worse, when I was going through this crazy benzodiazepine withdrawal and I had literally 100 symptoms all at once, felt like every day somebody was holding a gun in my head. The doctor put me on Cymbalta, try to make it through Cymbalta, to try and make it through benzo withdrawal. And that just made things like 10 times worse. So about 2 years after I got off the benzos, I started returning to some degree of normalcy, sorry. And then I started going through Cymbalta withdrawals, trying to taper off that. And to some degree, that was even worse because I think that just the mental component of Cymbalta withdrawal, I just started getting flooded with like severe depression, intrusive thoughts, all these sort of terrible issues. I started getting into like food addictions as a way to cope as well. And then eventually I went to Carnivore as a way to heal. And from a lot of my physical problems, I've had like severe acid reflux. It's so severe, I actually developed like Barrett's esophagus, which is like a precancerous sort of tissue change in your esophagus lining. And yeah, just my gut's always been in terrible shape. So I went on a carnivore diet. I saw, I think, a Jordan Peterson interview, and I started seeing some real improvements in terms of my acid reflux. And to some degree, my mental health improved a little bit, but it just never really fully got better. There's just something always missing there. And I just kept chasing for years and years this gut component. I need to fix my gut to fix my brain. And I never looked at the brain component to fixing my gut, which is what I really learned along the way. And I really think that's been the missing piece of the puzzle, which is something that I really got into maybe just a few months ago. And I hate to be one of these people that might be a bit of a downer because we see all these success stories, especially in the carnivore world. It's like I did carnivore for 3 weeks and all my problems went away. It's like, well, I've been severely damaged for 6 years, but really my story dates back to about 20 years ago, right? When I was also given like heavy dose of antibiotics for infections and stuff like that. So I've always had some component of like health issues and gut issues, but really 6 years ago is when things got really, really, really bad. And I was not really able to function anymore. So when I found out about limbic training and neuroplasticity training and sort of trying to train your brain in terms of like, get out of this constant fight or flight stress response that I've been in literally for 6 years nonstop. It just hit me. I was like, this is a game changer. This is what's been missing to my healing protocol. And so many people I've spoken to have been relaying the same message to me that they're in the same boat. That
Can I just stop you for 1 second? Can we just
sure.
describe like limbic system training? Like, what is that? Because I bet a lot of people have no idea because
They
I
have
have
no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I kind of like to throw in other sort of these terms for like neuroplasticity training or just to try and talk about the stress response, because basically what happens is it's like your body is so used to being chased by bears that it becomes in this hyper vigilant fight or flight type stress response on a constant basis. And
Mm.
your nervous system is going to be constantly upregulated, right? So this could be caused from like a trauma. So if you have even any sort of like traumatic experience in your life, it could be caused by dealing with chronic illness on its own. So that'll leave you in this constant fight or flight type stress response. Um, and what comes along with that is chronic inflammation, right? Because you're activating all these hormones that um, produce sort of inflammatory cytokines,
Yeah.
and you're just being bombarded with this on a daily basis. And your nervous system is just completely shot. You have complete hormone dysregulation. Your sleep's going to be affected. Obviously, your mental health is going to be affected, and you just get caught in this chronic loop. It's this never-ending loop of just inflammation and stress, and it just never ends, right? So that's where limbic training comes in. It basically consists of brain retraining exercises to sort of prune away these sort of negative neural pathways that you've developed and that you'll automatically go to as a response. It's like your body's protective mechanism to keep you safe. But over time, it's no longer protective. It's detrimental towards your health, right? So there's a lot of different ways that you could sort of establish limbic training exercises into your daily life. So I use a lot of different modalities with that. Simple techniques could be just from doing deep diaphragm breathing to just activate your parasympathetic state. It could be meditations, it could be visualizations, um, just finding ways to improve your circadian rhythm so you're sleeping better. Obviously, it's going to play into hormone regulation in that respect as well. And of course, with that comes with working on what types of light you want, what types of light you should be sort of reducing a little bit. Yeah, there's just so many different ways that you could do that. Obviously, the vagus nerve plays a huge component in that as well, because that's sort of your super highway that connects between your gut and your brain, and it's sort of how it communicates with each other. And when you're in this sort of upregulated nervous state, your vagus nerve is going to be impaired, and that plays a primary role in being able to digest your food, right? So try digesting your food when you're being chased by bears. It's just not going to happen, right? So
You're not meant to.
um, you're
That's the
not
whole
meant
point.
to.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your body's going to try to flee from danger, and my body was in that state where I was trying to flee from bears and danger, and these what I thought was sort of acute danger. Pretty much on a 24-hour basis. I was always in this hypervigilant state, always. Like it's impossible to heal when you're going through that. So we just need to calm your nervous system down. And it's not as easy as it may sound, right? You can't just do a little bit of breathing and think that you're going to calm your nervous system down. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of different healing modalities that play into that, right? And usually we start small and then you sort of work your way up into making this your life. This becomes just a complete lifestyle change, right?
Yeah. So how
So
did you come across this? Because this isn't something that I hear a lot about. It's not, I mean, I know we're both in the sort of carnivore community, but it's not anything that I ever heard anyone talk about necessarily. So where
yeah.
did this come from? How did you find it?
Well, it wasn't I don't really have an amazing story around that. I'm friends with Ribeye Rachel. I don't know if maybe some of your audience members know about her, but she has a remarkable story. She dealt with like Lyme disease. She had a brain injury. She's had like mold toxicity, all sorts of inflammatory conditions. She could barely even walk. She had to have brain surgery and everything. And with her, it was the same thing. I mean, carnivore took her to a certain point, which is great, and maybe took her 50% better. But this is what took her the rest of the way. And now she's doing like rock climbing again. She's moving around. I mean, just it's been like night and day since she's been doing limit training now. I think she's been doing it for about a year.
Yeah.
I'm only a few months into it, so I still have a way to go. It's not like, if you've been chronically ill for 20, 30 years, you're not just going to do a little bit of training and then overnight you just all of a sudden feel better. I mean, it could take several months, it could take a year, but you will see incremental changes, even right from the get-go, like right from the beginning. My first day doing it, I was like, I saw just a slight little variation in my mood, just
Mm.
little tiny changes like that. And now I'm just seeing these benefits just everywhere in terms of my digestion, my mental health, um, being able to function on my really bad days where I wasn't being able to before. And yeah, it's just completely changed my life, and I've been able to find some joy again, and just taking care of my kids. And you probably hear my baby crying in the background right now. Normally that would set me off something fierce, but I do better with these little things now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you are a couple of months in, roughly. What what sort of healing modalities are you using on yourself right now? And how much time do you
Well,
spend doing it? I think people
starting
might be interested.
small. So yeah, starting small. So I just started basically just with affirmations. I would just wake up in the morning
Hmm.
and just write out affirmations like, you know, I cannot be broken. I'm on the path to healing. I have my health and my whatever. I mean, you could do gratitude journaling as like part of that. So sometimes I'll like sort of mix it up, gratitude journaling, affirmations, and just try to sort of like pluck away at those negative neural pathways, like I said, and try to rebuild them into positive ones towards healing. And just something as simple as just deep diaphragm breathing. I mean, if you're in that stress response, deep diaphragm breathing is such an amazing way to activate your parasympathetic nervous system,
Yeah.
right? Um, so that's really what I started off with. But then I started doing other things, in terms of like grounding and different types of light therapy, change around my diet a little bit. I've always been somebody who's dealt with, carb and sugar addictions. I may not look like it, but I have like severe gastritis. And when I just can't absorb foods properly, and when I binge eat, it just creates this inflammation loop. So it's actually been the hardest thing for me to overcome. But I find that um, getting out of the stress response and just really calming my nervous system down has really been beneficial in terms of reducing my histamine overload, and has helped me sort of manage my cravings a little bit better.
Mm.
Of course, you played a big role in that as well, and a little bit of your coaching towards me as well. So that's been hugely beneficial. Um, and all sorts of different mindfulness techniques. Now I'm doing a lot of visualization, so really putting myself in the present in terms of like past memories and my future self, and visualizing what I want for my life and what sort of like happiness and purpose looks like for me, you know. Um, and yeah, just really finding joy in my life. Different types of exercise, doing somatic movements. So I'm sure I'm missing stuff, but there's a lot that I've just done a 360 shift in my lifestyle. And I think what has been a huge missing component in my life is community, which I know we were going to get into a little bit, but I think
Mm.
community and finding like-minded people has been such a critical component towards my healing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When the lockdowns hit, the mental health for like in society in general just went downhill very, very quickly. And I think we can find a lot of studies supporting that. So there's no doubt
Absolutely.
about it. We are pack animals. We need community, whether
Hmm.
that be online or not. I mean, I think in real life, meeting people face to face is always probably the best thing, but the second best thing is obviously finding a community that you can connect with, even if it's just online on camera. I think.
Yeah. So really that's it. Like, so I have sort of briefly joined these other communities, and I'll be perfectly honest with you. I feel like they were kind of lacking. Um, Most of the communities out there, they deal more with like weight loss, which is fine. Obviously plays a huge role in terms of someone's health. But I also wanted a community, not just for that, but also just for people dealing with all sorts of different types of chronic illness and disease states. And I wanted to be part of a community myself for my own healing
Yeah.
because I just feel it's such a huge motivator. So, yeah, I guess we could just get into that. I'm going to plug our community a little bit, but so I want to start this community. It's called Wired for Healing. I brought we asked Pim to come on board with us,
Yeah.
and Pim's partner
Bart.
Pim's partner Bart. Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not used to these interviews, and then Annabelle Smithson. So I just want to, I'll be perfectly honest, and I hate to sound negative, but when you're in this sort of chronic illness space, you encounter a lot of like snake oil salesmen. People are just trying to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
They don't really have your best interest at heart. Everything is just massively overpriced. So I want to start this community with people that I felt like really are caring people that have people's best interests at heart. I wanted to keep it at a price point that was, I think, is pretty much affordable for everybody. And most importantly, I just want to create a community of where everybody supports each other, and you could interact with people on a sort of a similar state as yours and just sort of like-minded people on a daily basis, So I think that was the most important thing to me. And I think that's something I wanted to be part of, and I just couldn't find it. So I think the most important thing is it's not that people don't always have the knowledge. It's just that it's so hard when you're sick like this to have the motivation and to have the routine. Of course, having people who are really experts in all these different types of modalities of healing is crucial. But I think the most important thing is like, even just doing like affirmations every day, breathing techniques, having that community of having people cheer you on, support you, having the right types of coaches that really care about you. So really that's where I want to go with this. But brain retraining definitely takes some professional expertise. And I think that really, Pim, that's where you come into play. And I know that your primary focus is in like addictions and stuff like that, but that is exactly what is happening when you're in this sort of trauma loop that you deal with a chronic illness. It's sort of this addictive state that you're stuck in, right?
Yeah, you're talking about trauma loop, but I always talk about habit loops, and it's the same
Habit
thing. It's
loops,
just a
exactly.
loop of several things happening in the same order all the time. And when you
Yeah.
program your brain to do it that way, whether that has to do with addiction or something else that you don't even have to think about, like being in a fight or flight state, it just keeps going and going and going until you interrupt it. So it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. It's the same thing, just different systems.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And a lot of times, like when I eat, I don't even eat in sort of a conscious state. I eat more like I'll just grab something and I won't even think while I'm eating, right?
Yeah.
It's just out of pure habit. And I think there's so many elements of that when it comes to dealing with chronic illness that we need to address, right?
Yeah.
And they're not being addressed. The problem is when you go see a practitioner, like you go see a naturopath, for instance, and I've seen plenty, and I've spent more money than you could count. Like I'm sure many people you've encountered
Yeah.
have as well that have come to you, and they'll always say, "Okay, here's your protocol." They might give you a diet of some kind. Here's a low FODMAP diet, and here's your cocktail of supplements that you have to spend $1,000 on. And if you go to a conventional doctor, they'll just give you antibiotics or whatever, these meds that just sort of mask the problem. They don't get to the root of anything. Whereas this is all natural. We're not trying to, there's nothing that's trying to be sold here, right? That stuff just doesn't work. It just doesn't work for most people.
And let me just chip in here, because you say there's nothing, like we're not trying to sell you any pills, anything else.
Yeah.
And it's not because those things are not necessarily not working for people sometimes, but
Sometimes they do.
yeah. But in the case that you're talking about, when your nervous system is just in fight or flight, all of these things are very unlikely to work, right?
Exactly. Exactly. If you've been sick for a really long time, if you've had like mold issues for 10 years, do you really think that just taking some garlic pills and, fasting or something like that is going to fix all your issues? Of course not. I've never met somebody in that kind of scenario where they just been able to take some supplement and they just magically are cured. It just doesn't work like that. Sorry.
Yeah.
You do hear maybe the odd case here and there, but it takes a lot of work to come out of that. And I'm seeing that for myself. I'm seeing it every day. I'm seeing just maybe it's like a tenth of a percent, but eventually over time that accumulates. And then you really start to see the real benefits from it. Right.
Yeah.
So I am a full believer in this. It's just not something I'm not just creating this for the hell of it. I'm a full believer. I'm fully on board with brain retraining as being a an essential, if not the primary component to healing for most people in this similar state as mine. Of course, there's a lot of other things that play into that. Like there's a lot of specific types of healing diets that people could employ. You and I have done like carnivore, but we know that there's a lot of other diets that might be better suited for different types of people and different types of conditions, right? So, we will get to diet a little bit in the groups and stuff like that, but it's not going to be like the main primary focus. So we're just going to be focusing on establishing all these healthy routines around all these different types of modalities that we use, geared towards healing from chronic illness.
Yeah, and I think that's so awesome and maybe also a bit of a relief for a lot of people because I
Mm-hmm.
see it now. It's like people are coming to me and they just ask me like, "Oh yeah, I've heard that this supplement or this food should be really good for this, but I'm trying to stick with a carnivore diet." And I'm like, "Why do we have to be so regimented when it comes to diet? Why not just try things and do whatever makes you feel good because your physiology is not like my physiology. My physiology
Yeah.
is different from yours. At this point in time, at some point they might overlap and the same diet might work for all of us, but that's not always the case. So we just need to open up a little bit and be a little bit more curious about what could actually work for our condition and not be so rigid with it because I think that is just
Yeah.
putting yourself in a cage where you're not able to actually heal because you're not even willing to try the thing that might help
Mm-hmm.
you.
Which just further reinforces those negative thought patterns and habits,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
You got to have compassion for yourself and for others who are dealing with chronic illness. I think
Yes.
for myself, for the longest time, I was always beating myself up because I always felt like I couldn't adhere to something or whatever, and it didn't do anything but just make me sicker.
Yes.
Um, and I think that's sort of something that is lacking in the chronic illness community. I think just people, there's a lot of like gaslighting. Oh, you're doing this wrong. And
Yeah.
I just think that, compassion just goes such a long way. There's a lot of people out there like myself, like they just want to heal because they want to be able to like take care of their kids.
Mm.
These are really good people and they just want to be able to function. They're not trying to sell you some miracle cure or something like that. Like they just want to be able to live again
Yeah.
and function on a daily basis. Um, so so yeah, I think it's just important. I think the most important aspect of healing of everything I've mentioned, brain retraining, everything, all these different types of things I mentioned is just community.
Mm.
I think that's the most important thing and find the right community for you, you
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
so that's yeah.
We had a little discussion earlier about this as well, that we want to really focus on the community aspect because there are other programs out there which are maybe not within your price range, but there are other
Yeah.
programs there that you could potentially do. But we
Mhm.
want to be able to include everyone and we want to build on the community aspect for those people who really want or need the community. So
Yeah.
obviously we like we Scott was saying, we're covering all the bases. We're gonna have like movement and brain retraining, the diet, different types of diets. We're not dogmatic in any way. It's supposed to be non-judgmental and just focused on whatever is working for you, and we'll help you to work that out. Mindfulness,
Yeah.
all the circadian rhythm stuff, sleep, light exposure, and all the things that Scott
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. But also the membership or the community part is like there will be a body up system. We will have maybe watch parties, and something that people from my community might be familiar with now is we have had like virtual coffee dates where we get the whole community together, where you get to meet each other and talk to each other and help
Mm,
each other as well. So it's not just the coaches helping you. We want to
yeah.
make this as broad and beneficial as possible so that you always have somewhere to go. And I think that that's going to be really unique about this program. And for
Yeah.
that price, it's just going to be amazing, I think.
Look, I mean, we're social creatures, right?
Mm,
And I think that finding people that you can relate to is such a huge thing. It's such a huge thing, and just trying to find joy again, you
mm,
know. We were sort of brainstorming before, maybe having watch parties of like funny movies or something.
yeah,
And even if you don't want to, even if you feel like hell, you feel like crap, just join in, fake it till you make it, put a fake smile on your face if you have to, or you don't have to, whatever. There's no judgments. But, just trying to find joys in little things like that again, and sort of meeting friends you haven't met yet, you know.
yeah.
There's so many different people and from all walks of life, from all different countries. It's such a beautiful thing about doing it online, which I really love. Meeting someone from New Zealand or, wherever, like in Asia somewhere, just halfway across the world. It's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, and this is obviously a community that is geared towards healing. So everyone in there is going to be in a very similar situation to you. And we just had that. I just had a challenge for my people who want to quit carbs, and they are forming their own communities. There's a lady in there, she's in my paid program, and she still connects with everyone there. She has several people that she connects with regularly every week from both other paid clients and people from previous challenges. So it just goes to show that when you reach out, there are so many people who want to take you up on it. So that's where the buddy up system comes in. And as Scott said, there are several friends there that you just haven't met yet. And I bet you that when we come together and you just get to connect with people, and when you start opening up in smaller groups with other people, you're going to find that community. And yeah, it really touched me when they were talking about this today, because I knew a little bit about it, but now it just goes to show like how big it is and how many of them have actually started doing this. And I know this is so needed out there. So yeah, that's the part that I'm almost most excited
Yeah.
about. Is we will
Yeah,
just
I think
help.
I think so too, and I think like I said before, I mean, I hate to um, beat a dead horse like over this, but I just think that, or whatever the expression is, I can't even think right now. But I think the most important thing is just the people, right?
Yeah.
And I really wanted to find people that I think were just best suited towards this, and people who I know actually care. People like if people get to know Pim, if you get to know Pim on a personal basis, Pim is a very caring person. Like she really puts a lot of thought into this. And it's not just about making the almighty dollar. Of course, everyone needs to make money, but um, I just really feel like we have such a great team here. And I think a great team fosters, you know, a great community. I really think that you are going to be such a huge component in terms of building such an amazing community that we'll have. And everybody will have so much, just so much positive. I mean, everyone's going to be like everyone's best cheerleaders, right? We're all going to be there cheering each other on, and we're all going to try to hold each other accountable. But like you said, there isn't going to be any judgment. There's not going to be any pressure. So, um, really, just trying to do our best. Just do our best to implement these daily changes that will eventually lead to our healing. Right.
Mm. Yeah. So do you want to talk quickly about like what sort of classes people can expect in this membership?
Yeah, so a lot of like brain retraining classes. Obviously, like I talked about before, we're going to get into a lot of different types of healing techniques, um, ways to stay motivated. Um, we're also going to do a lot of fun stuff. So just sort of community meetings. We're going to have guest experts come on. Like Bart's going to be part of the program. So he's going to come on, maybe speak more to the science of things than we can a little bit. And we're going to have an exercise class, which is going to be awesome. So a lot of like somatic movements, light, very light sort of healing exercises. The teacher she also teaches yoga. She could also do a little bit of Tai Chi. So a lot of fun, different types of exercise modalities in there as well. What else? I'm sure I'm missing a few other things, but we're going to have like social media pages just strictly for members. So that's really where everyone's going to congregate and sort of talk with each other. And yeah, just I think really just trying to start slow, but I think each class is going to be like a little bit different, right? It's not going to be the same thing every class. So yeah, really just get into a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And I know for
Yeah.
me, because you were talking about that I'm into the addiction space, but what I'm really doing with my clients is that we are reprogramming how they are thinking, like the
Yes,
positive thinking aspect. So
exactly.
sometimes when you were talking about affirmations, if I had gone back 5 years or maybe 10 years or whatever, and you had said to me, just do positive affirmations, I would be like, what the F is the point of doing
Yeah,
that?
this
I
is
don't believe them
nonsense.
anyway.
Yeah,
So one of the things that I definitely will be teaching is how to do positive affirmations in a way that is going to work for you, because a lot of the time we're just saying bullshit that we don't believe in, and that's never going to work.
exactly.
So
Oh,
that's one of
100%,
the things.
100%. Yeah, I could see how people would be very skeptical of it.
Yeah.
Because I was
Oh
when
yeah.
like my friend told me about this, I was like, ah, that sounds like bullshit. But really, I had nothing else to lose at that point. Eventually, when I started thinking about it, I'm like, it makes sense. I've always worked on taking all these supplements and stuff to fix my gut. I've
Yeah.
never worked on the brain. And when I really thought about it, that's where everything started for me, was with the stress and all that.
Yeah.
So eventually it's sort of, I came around. I was like, okay, this makes sense. When I started employing it on a daily basis, I was like, okay, this is legit. This stuff actually works. So look, people don't have to believe us. They could try it for a month for free. I'm not saying you're going to heal in a month, but I think you should definitely see some benefits within the end of the month if you actually stick to it and take it seriously. But we're going to offer the whole month of March is going to be free for everybody to join. So they can make up their minds as to whether or not it's right for them.
Yeah. So where do they go to sign up?
You could go to limbic-training.com. So limbic-training.com. So like I said, March is completely free for everybody. So all the classes are free. So that'll be a perfect demo to see if it's a right fit for you. And there's going to be a link up on there that will be available for all the classes. So you just click on that link. I think there's a passcode you type in, you're in the class. As easy as that, pretty much. And then after that, we're going to have a membership. So it's going to be $75 a month. Now that's going to be full price. However, we're going to have some affiliate programs. So if you keep your eyes out for that, you could get a discount there as well. So you'd probably be paying under $70 a month for a membership. You get 4 live classes a week at least, sometimes more, because we might have some other types of guest speakers and community meetings and stuff like that. You get the support group. You get Q&As with the coaches again and the Discord group. So there's a lot of stuff really involved in it. So I think it's a pretty good value, but I'm biased because I'm part of the program. But I think it's pretty good value compared to what else you get out there.
Yeah, so just one thing I want to add. If you're one of these people, you're just like, I'm so broken, this feels overwhelming, just know that it's optional. You can pick and choose the classes that you want to take. You don't have to
So
go to all of them. It's just like
yeah,
limbic system Netflix. You go on, you pick what you're interested in, and you skip the
yep,
rest. You haven't missed anything. It's not like you have to go to all these classes with me to actually get something out of it. Each class is going to be standalone. So each class you take is going to be to your benefit. And
yeah.
the ones
It's
that you
kind of
don't
like a
take,
gym membership in a way. I
yeah,
mean, you could pick and choose what you want to go to. You want to go to boot camp one day, or you want to go cycling one day, or whatever. I mean, It's
Mm.
totally up to you. Whatever area, if you feel like you need to focus on one area more than the other, which I think a lot of us do,
Yeah.
you could pick and choose. But I think what's most important is that we do this on a daily basis. So we're going to be also giving sort of like, I don't want to call it homework because that always has a sort of negative connotation to it, but giving assignments to people, stuff that they could do on their own time when classes aren't in session. But most of these groups that I've been part of, they might have like one session a week or maybe one session every 2 weeks. We're going to have 4 a week, right?
Mm.
So we're going to be doing this pretty regularly, and that's what you need to establish a good routine and stay motivated,
Yeah.
right? So
And there
so
will
I think
be
that's going to be
time
important.
and a class for everyone every week, I'm pretty sure.
Exactly. And they're going to be recorded. So if you can't make the class, they're going to be made available to you either way.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And if people
Yeah.
want to connect with you personally, where can they find you?
Yeah. So again, the Carnivore Lion is where you could find me on YouTube. Now, yes, I started the channel to document my journey on going on a carnivore diet. I am no longer on a carnivore diet. I would say I'm mostly like meat based, but I definitely do get my carbs and stuff like that in there. So again, this isn't a carnivore community, right? And as far as I know, I don't think Pim is like strict carnivore as well. So I think we're a little bit more meat based, you and I, but we also have someone in the group who's vegan. So,
Mm-hmm.
so she's going to be
Great.
teaching the exercise classes. Yeah. So, right. It's a community for everyone.
Yeah.
So the Carnivore Lion, on YouTube. And then I think it's just the Carnivore Lion at Instagram. I don't use Instagram a ton, but you can find me on there as well. So,
Okay.
and you can find some good interviews with Bart and Pim on my channel. If you guys want to check out, I did one with Pim just a couple weeks ago, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Pim.
Thank you.